Hey folks, this is Wade at the Shoemakers Academy. Hey, this video is brought to you by two books, the Shoe Material Design Guide and the How to Spot Fake Sneakers. Basically we're going to do two things today. We are going to look at a pair of shoes. I've got a real pair and a fake pair. And if you're interested in seeing, what inside of a shoe looks like, then the Shoe Material Design Guide is exactly the book for you. We've got about 30 different shoe models cut up, and the shoes that we're cutting up today are going to go into volume 2 of this book, and you'll be able to see what's inside a modern athletic shoe, inside now. So that's what's covered in the Shoe Material Design Guide, and also in the How to Spot Fake Sneakers book, we do the same thing. I'm going to show you what the inside of a real shoe looks like, or what the outside details, and also what the inside of a fake shoe looks like. And today we're going to do more of the same. So again, these books are available at the shoemakersacademy.com website. They're also available on Amazon and other fine bookstores. Okay, enough of that. So a couple days ago, we had some shoes here that were sent to us by a friend of the show, and we have a pair of Nike Blazers, and here it says Hencho in Mexico. Nike, they did make shoes in Mexico many years ago. As far as research now, they do not, right? So these shoes are not real, and there's a lot that's gone wrong with them. And but hey, you know what? So that's one side of the tree here, and then the other side over here, we have a fresh pair. We have a fresh box here, and these came today. And just to prove to you that you're seeing it at the same time I am, I'm gonna open the box up here, and we're gonna look inside, and here we go. And we're gonna keep going. We got tissue paper, and here we go. We have a real pair of Nike Blazers, and let's start taking a look. So first things first, the boxes obviously are very different from each other. The one came with no tissue at all. The box cutting die design of the box is very different. You can see on the actual box, the edge rolls over, and that makes the box much stronger. It also uses more paper. But let's just take 1 second to look at the box end label, so you can see, what real looks like. There you go. Actually, it's interesting that the real box end label doesn't say Nike on it at all, and it has multiple barcodes and all the other good stuff. Now this says made in Indonesia. So there you go. Okay, so here we go. Blazer Low, black and white. So let's put the boxes aside, and let's look at the shoes. So okay, so we've got black and white shoes here. Actually, well, here. So we already did a quick QC study on these. So what I want to do now is set this aside, and we'll set this one aside, and I'm going to have the matching the opposite side here, and we'll look at we're going to reserve these for photography, and these ones we're gonna let into. So first things first. I love this. This is fantastic to look at. Is okay, white. It also depends on the quality of the light that you're looking at, right? So when I first look at the Nike, the real one here versus the fake one, you still see that there's a difference in color, right, between the leather and the outsole, and that's inevitable. That's bound to happen. But also just the quality of the white when you look at the two shoes, right? You can see that the real one is bright white, and the fake one is actually kind of grayish. And actually the other interesting point, of course, is that you can see that this one is actually really made with vulcanized construction, and this one is not. And I can tell a few ways. When you look at the bottom, here you can see the tape layers, right? Because you know this has a toe cap and the sidewall wrap, and then you have the bottom mold part, right? So you can see there's a bright line where those three pieces meet, right? And you can see there's air bubbles there, or actually, you know what, I thought those were air bubbles, but maybe they're alignment marks, because, or they're using it as an alignment mark, because that toe cap stops right there on that point. So interesting point there. And here on the fake one, there's no divide. When you look at it, you see this is all one piece, right? It's not assembled like a real vulcanized shoe would be. And then the other thing, when you're looking at a vulcanized shoe, and I'll get my little blade here to use as a pointer. You know, these pieces of rubber are die cut. So this edge here, right, is a cut edge. I don't know if you can see it. So this is smooth. There should be no texture on that edge, right? And here, of course, you can see, because this is molded together, you can see all the texture wraps around, and actually these edges are not 90 degrees, they're rounded, right? Because it came out of a mold. The same thing here, and the texture just follows from this piece onto this piece. See the texture, it just follows over. Versus, you know, this shoe, of course, yes, the pieces are textured, but the texture stops because this edge is die cut. And actually, when we look at this shoe, we'll quickly look, and actually you can see here, this is where the tape wraps. So it goes all the way around the shoe, and this is where they meet. And then, of course, because this unit is molded and not really vulcanized, you don't see that kind of gap. So, and I'll take a second and say, hey, wait, what? Can you remind us what vulcanizing is? Vulcanizing is the process where the bottom of the shoe and the sidewall are separate components, and they're assembled together. Like, this is literally a piece of rubber tape that's laid onto the shoe, and then the entire shoe goes into a vulcanizing oven and heats it, and it cooks that together. Versus in this shoe, this bottom actually is probably injected in this, but a regular cup sole, the outsole is made completely separately. It's complete, bottom sides all together, and then glued together. So, okay. So we can see that the shoes are made with very different constructions. You know, when I look at the toe caps here, I mean, we can see that the pattern here, even though these shoes are roughly the same size, you can see that the shape of the last is very different, right? Look how wide this thing is, and just look at the shape of this. So it's a completely different deal here. So up front, and then, you know, look how long that section is, and when you look at the shoes together, you can see, you know, just the difference. Even, we'll just line up those two patterns here. Just the difference in all the geometry in the pieces, right? How narrow the throat is here, how wide it is here, how far forward this break comes, how far back it is here. So basically, this pattern is just completely and utterly different. And when you look here, also, this is interesting too. You can just see how tall the fake one is. It's much taller. When you look at these together, you can see the fake one is really, you know, astonishingly taller. Now, this is another interesting point too, where you can look at the height of the rubber tape on the real one is taller than the fake one. And then on the real one, the logo is still screen printed. And it's interesting because, you know, this is sort of the vintage logo versus the more modern squared off one, right? So, and then here you can see this is a patch, this is an overlay, and on the real one is an underlay. Now, you know, when I look at the lining material, this is a vinyl or a PU, and this one's textile. There may be blazers with textile out there, so it's hard, you know, material-wise, difficult to know. But I mean, the dead giveaway, of course, is that this is not vulcanized. And the other thing, when I look at this too, is that, you know, this toe is made of suede. If you really look closely, you can see it's got cut edge. You know, the cut edge is hairy, and it's real suede. And this actually, when you you can see there's a grain to it. So this is actually a man-made material. And then when you roll it over with the knife here, you can see there's a non-woven backing on there. So there's a white backing on that. So not real leather. You know, and also just the shape of the shape of this piece is, you know, you can look at the patterns together, even though they're not 100% the same size, how much bigger that is, how much longer it is. You know, it's interesting, the real blazer, you can see it's got the perforations that go all the way through. And here, this perf hole doesn't quite even get through the leather all the way. So I don't know what happened there. Same thing here, where they dimpled it, but they didn't manage to cut it. So, and then again, how tall the fake one is. So, you know, there's a lot going on here. I mean, the logo here on this one is matte and this is gloss. Again, that could be a material difference depending on the model of the shoe, not necessarily an indication of it's fake. But now, again, this is a vintage one, and I, you know, always chuckle at this at the way the way the tongue is constructed on the, you know, this is the 1977, right? Vintage one, that the tongue is made just cut off like that. And it just, this to me looks like the disgusting fake. It looks, you know, awful versus rolled over one. But when you look at the label here, you can see that this is actually a real woven label, right? It is actually woven. Versus this bad boy here is just printed on fabric, so not a real woven label. So let's back off now. The shoelaces, you know, you can't see it, but I can. This one is cotton and this one's polyester. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna unlace these. And just looking at the tongue, you know, the tongue of the real one is nylon, and this is part of also, you know, in a quality case, when I see the white nylon of the tongue is so thin, because this is white nylon, but it is so thin that that the yellow of the foam, and then the vulcanizing, you know, this foam might have been white to start with, but when you get it into the vulcanizing oven, it yellows like that. So the fact that you can see the white nylon, and this is this is the same nylon, but it's not glued to the foam that's yellowed, so it hasn't turned this this fleshy color. So you know, as far as a quality control issue, I'd be like, oh man. You know, I would not want that. You should not accept that in a pair of shoes. But you know, this is sort of the vintage look, and that's how it was done. But not ideal. Okay, so we'll get the shoelaces out of there. So what else? Now that we got it open, I can see there's some alignment marks here. You know, depending on the shoe and where it's made, you'll see alignment marks. You know, it's not necessarily a dead giveaway that it's fake. This shoe came from Nike, right? That's why we unwrapped it from the box there. You know, it came from Portland. So I know that it's the real deal. And there's alignment marks. So again, you know, it's not proof that a shoe is fake or real. But when you look, and actually this is the other part too. This shoe came from Indonesia. If it was made in Vietnam or China, the factory that made it may or may not have those alignment marks. You know, I'm curious, and I'll have to ask some friends at Nike, you know, how closely they match. Is it possible that the one made in Indonesia would have alignment marks and the ones in Vietnam not? Sometimes that comes down to the factory that made it. Because remember, these shoes are made by subcontractors, and whoever is making this shoe, one PO might be a completely different factory than made it 6 months before. So, okay, now we've got the inside. Okay, we've got paper here. The fake one, we got nothing. So, okay, so here we've got the barcode and the size information. On the fake one, there's none of that good stuff. This does say made in Vietnam, which is hilarious, because even though Even though the tongue label says made in Vietnam, you know, what does the box say? It says made in Mexico. Go figure. You know, this one, it does say, you know, when you look at the label, it does say made in Indonesia. The box is made in Indonesia. Let's just quickly look at some of the numbers here. UPC code, and I'm looking here at the UPC code, check digit. Okay, so they match, and pretty important that the label matches the label, right? The label matches what's inside the shoe. Okay, so we're looking inside the shoe, and we pulled this one out before, and this is a absolutely paper thin footbed, and we measured it the other day. I think this was just a millimeter, so pretty thin. And let's look at the real one. Okay, this also glued down. Not glued down very heavily, so we can pull it out without damaging it. And this is an EVA footbed, and this has a nice sort of terry. It's still probably polyester, but and this footbed is conventional EVA, as is this one, but you can see the difference, right, thickness wise. So but this has a nice terry, and this could be cotton, but it's more than likely man-made, but of a quality that it can withstand the vulcanizing process. So in here, actually, you can see these little notches. This actually tells the people in the factory what size this is, because this is die cut. There's no molding to tell you the size, and even the fake one, actually, you can see it has the notches in it, because you know that factory process to sort them out from each other size wise still applies, whether you're making the real counterfeit one or the counterfeit one or the real one. Okay, so we'll set the footbeds aside, but man, you can see the quality of that. So now when we look inside these shoes, again, this is the real one, and this is the fake one, and I can see that the real one is actually Strobel, right? So I can see the stitching around the perimeter, right? And inside lining is nice and smooth. There's a little hole here, and that's for an air trap, right? And on this one, and we see there's a lasting board, and I see some stitching here, right? But it's not Strobel, actually. And when we started working on this, we ended up pulling out, we pulled out the board, and let me see if we can get it to come up again. We pulled the board, and what we find out, of course, is that this is, and here it says, you know, made in Mexico, even though the box, oh no, this, I love it. The box says made in Mexico, the bottom of the lasting board says made in Mexico, and the tongue label says made in Vietnam. I love it. Okay, so we'll set that aside over here. So now, even though we saw that zigzag stitching, that's because this is a real Strobel, right, where they make the upper open and they circular stitch the bottom onto it. In this case, that stitching around the perimeter holds a heavy cord, and when we get the knife to this thing in a second, we'll try to liberate that. So you can see that this is made by a process called string lasting, where the upper is sewn, the last is inserted, and they just yank the string, and the string is what lasts the upper, right? Versus having the solid bottom on and you force the last into it, and it pulls the upper tight. This one, it actually is a string. So, and of course, you know, you can see there's not a lot of glue on this thing, right? I just pulled it out. It was easy, right? So it's not well put together. In this case, I can see the glue has actually saturated the Strobel. So I know, and when we cut this in about a minute, we'll see how well it's glued together. Now, in this case, we know this is vulcanized because we saw the layers of, the layers of rubber. In this case, I'm looking down here and I see this big bump right here. This is an injection port, right? And it's been injection molded and then cut off. And actually these other little marks are the ejector pins to bump it out of the mold. So this is actually a PVC injection. Actually, we'll just smell it. It could be TPR, not PVC. But so you can see, made by a completely different process. Now let's start cutting here, and we'll just start here and I feel sorry for, you know, the real shoe, because he thought it was going to go to he thought he was going to go to a good home and be worn, but he's going to have to give it up for science. Okay, so let's go ahead and work on this. And always get yourself a nice sharp blade and make sure you don't get your fingers in there. And we're just going to go right down the middle here. Okay. All right. Okay. So here we can see our string, and we can see, I mean, this is actually pretty bad news. It didn't actually fit all the way down, right? So they went to assemble this thing, and even though, I mean, actually, let's get our board back in here, right? Because this is the board sits in here when they made this thing. But there's a lot of space there, you know. So even though they did the string lasting, and they glued the thing down, it's not very tight. So, you know, obviously, you know, that it is what it is. Okay, let's get to the real shoe here, and we're gonna do the same process. We're gonna start with the tongue. It's easy to measure the thickness of the tongue foam when it's just exposed that way. You know, it is funny that it looks so appalling, but that's the style, right? And this is real rubber, so we'll see if it gives us a little bit more resistance. A little bit, but again, we got a nice sharp blade here, so we can get through this without hurting ourselves. Be careful, folks. I'm doing this so that you don't have to. Okay. All right. If I stop the camera, it's because we went to get some Band-Aids. Okay. All right. Let's get through this. Okay. All right. We're just gonna go through. Just be careful. We're gonna right down the middle. Okay. Oh, interesting. Huh? There's a little egg crate in there, and we're gonna. This is the one thing I'm curious about. I want to get a look at how much cushioning is actually inside the real blazer. Let's just turn that around and make sure our cuts meet. Right, hold on. Let's get this going. Okay. Whoop, careful. Careful. All right. All right, so we'll set that aside. Now, what we've got here, okay. So, you know, this again, this looks like it's a lot thicker, but we actually got lucky and we cut right through the rib. You know what I want to do actually is I'm gonna let's trim away from that rib here, because I want you to get a real an actual look at that cross section here. So we'll make another cut here. There we go. Okay. All right. Now you can see what's going on here. We've got, again, this is we'll spin it the right way here. So this is the fake one, and this is the real one, and we'll just sort of zoom in here so you can see the real one has some waffling in it, and that's not unheard of. You know, it'd be nicer if there was some blown or sponge rubber inside, because even with the real one, you know, we're still looking at, you know, actually here, let's mark this so that we can see what's going on here. I want to show you the real cross section here. So let's just mark this. so that we can I want you to see the real cross section of everything that's in here. Okay. And we'll stick that back in there. So again, not a huge amount of cushioning there, just a few millimeters, right? And then let's get our other one here, and we'll do our best to reassemble this so that we can. Oh no, we don't want that in there at all. Okay, we're just gonna set that in there as best we can because it's a little bit tattered, and we'll just mark that quickly here so you can. And I kind of want to show you this, so because you're like, hey, it's fake. What's the harm? You know, this is what you don't want to be walking on. But also, you know, a little bit drives the point home that you know, yes, the egg crate, it provides some cushioning, but there's not a lot here. And you know, should these shoes have more cushion inside? Hey, it's kind of up to you. If you can wear that kind of shoe comfortably. Okay, so let's that was down, right? So that's that. Okay, and we got to get the right side here. And actually, now that we've done that, we're gonna mark this quickly, and we'll make another cut so that we can get all the layers in here. I want you to see right how this is. Now, actually, this is interesting. I see these little dimples here in the middle of this. This is because the shoe last, when they assemble this thing, has a couple of pins, and then they just basically hammer it onto the last, and the pin holds it in place, and then they do the string lasting of the upper. Okay, so we were assembling this side, so we need this piece goes back in. All right, underneath the string lasting. I was really surprised actually to see that this was string lasted. I was maybe disappointed is the better word. Okay, so now we can get a look at really what we got here. Okay, so you know, this is your, you know, really what you're getting, right? The Nike one is stroboled. You can see the vulcanized rubber outsole, and then the base layer here, and then it's stroboled and it's nice and smooth corner. And here, the string lasted one, this doesn't fit, so there's an air gap there. And then you've got this lasting board, which they might not even, you know, would you even need that? I mean, theoretically, it's to stop you from feeling that when you're standing on a little rib. You know, guess what? it ain't gonna help much. Because of how skinny that rib is and how thin that lasting board is, how thin the footbed is. There's nothing there. And then let's spin around here, and we're gonna look at the toe. And you see how, you know, on the Nike one, yeah, right, the strobel comes down, it all fits together, it's perfect, nice and clean. And here you can see that there's a nice gap. It's not really bonded that well. And then, you know, just a tiny layer. There's no foam in here, right? And so so that's the sole construction. The other thing is let's pull these pieces out so that we can look at what's going on with the upper here. Oh, there's a couple of loose threads here, but you know what? I'm running my finger down here, and this is the real one. This is nice and smooth. I mean, this is pretty well done. I mean, the outsole bonding, everything is nice and tight. The lining is nice and smooth. Not a wrinkle in there, and these pieces are tacked down pretty well. Now, you know, on the fake one, they've got, you know, their pattern is not very tight. Again, this was string lasted, so you're never gonna get, you know, look at this, how the tension involved here, right? There's no wrinkles. Everything lays down, it fits perfect. On the string lasted one, you know, there's not enough tension. Look at, you know, first of all, it's not even connected. Okay, you know, not great. And there's a lot of wrinkles here, and this is not bonded together at all. And actually, you can see the back of this. Okay, it looks like leather from the front, but this is, you can see here from the back, it's just non-woven textile. And then, you know, you've got a big bump here, and then even here, you can see this gigantic wrinkle in there. And on the real one, they've tacked it down. They probably used a little hot melt glue, and how nice and smooth that is inside. So again, you know, and let's quickly look at the heel counter on this. Now, the design of this shoe, because this main, you know, wraparound heel is so low, you wouldn't expect there to be the counter above this and it just keep that soft. Okay, that's cool. On the fake one, yeah, same issue actually. It comes up to about there and then stops. But let's look at the cross section and we'll see what they've got inside. And actually, you know, let's see. I think this one, we'll keep this one intact, and I'm gonna bring in the other side here, and we'll start peeling this apart. So this is just the matching side, okay? Because I wanna look at the heel counter here, so we can start to peel this back. Oh, that's interesting. The lining's not even connected. Okay, so we're gonna peel this back. And we just have the foam is just shredding. The foam backing is just shredding a little bit is what we're seeing there. But here we have the heel counter. This is a piece of, it's called chemical sheet or chemi sheet. And it's a piece of paper, or like a cellulose board that's saturated with a resin. And in the factory, you dip it in an activator, like could be acetone or some other solvent, and it softens it, and then you attach it in, and it roughly can start to take the shape. It has a little curve in it, but you notice on this one, they didn't bother to skive the edges, so it just goes full thickness. So you're likely to have a bump. And here you can see how thin the collar foam is, because the heel counter is sort of X-raying through. So this is pretty flimsy stuff. You know, actually, when I'm feeling this too, this eye stay, it feels really soft. There's basically just one extra layer of non-woven in here to keep the stitches from ripping out. So, you know, will it stay? I doubt it. Let's just make a cut here and see if there's any reinforcing in and the answer is no. There isn't. It's just the layer of the upper, the quarter, and then the lining. So there's no reinforcing in there at all. Let's look at this one. Let me see. Is this the side I want to keep? I can never remember. Let's keep that one. So let's open this and look. So we're gonna make a slice into the eye stay here. There was a lot of resistance there, and that resistance probably because it's real leather is why. Actually, you can see it is real leather, and you see that sort of gray color, gray blue. That's because this is chrome tanned, and you know, people think chromium tanning is bad. You know what? It is environmentally not as good as veg tan, but guess what? It's inexpensive, and it makes really durable, high quality leather. So it's hard to get off that. Okay, so here inside, you can see just like we have in our store, a little piece of super tough, right? And this is a non-woven fabric that it's just glued it in behind this eye stay part, and that will stop these holes from ever tearing out. Now let's look at, now we're going to look at the heel counter, and we're going to see something very different. Like, this is cold cement technology, but because this shoe is actually vulcanized, what we're going to see is a piece of rubber. Now, remember how easy it was to pull that lining back because it wasn't connected? Well, this one, because this is a properly made shoe, the lining is actually connected. So we're gonna just make a cut here, and so that we can liberate the lining from the heel counter, and we're just gonna pull that back, and the foam backing has come loose a little bit. Oh, that's just how it goes. We're gonna keep peeling, and what you get to is this. And this is actually rubber. So what they do with this piece is they take the scraps from this and maybe the scraps from this. Actually, probably not. This already has regrind in it with a little. You can see the little sparkles or whatever. They'll take the scraps from these foxing tape, and they will reprocess it, and they'll use it to make the heel counter. And they might actually even be some. Actually, we'll just look in the toe. No, there's actually nothing. There's no. Actually, there is some counter material back here. Let's just peel it up and see. Oh no, actually, okay. Okay. So what we've got here. Well, let's just cut this open quickly, and we'll show you what's going on here. So this shoe is made out of a material called action leather. This is the real one, right? So what action leather is? It is suede that has a thin layer of plastic, micro thin layer of plastic stuck to it. And that's what makes this durable and stable and washable. So what we've got here is you've got the non-woven backing from the vamp here. And then you've got your action leather, right? And you can see the chrome tanned structure of the material and the white face. So that's the plastic part. And then on the back of the suede, they've just put a little canvas back there. And on the fake shoe, let's look at that, see what they've done in the toe. We're going to peel that back. And they have a little non-woven, they actually have, and this is conventional cold cement, they have a little piece of, man-made, and this is a little really thin piece of plastic, and it's pretty much what we have in our store. You can buy little sheets of this, and it's thermoformed, and this is pretty flimsy. Wasn't glued in, and it wasn't fused either, so it just popped right out. That's no good. And then you have this other man-made material. It looks like sort of microfiber, but you can see it's not high quality because you can see the weave through it. Even though they brushed the surface, you can still see the man-made pattern in it. And then they backed it with some non-woven. And then you have regular that, and then the non-woven for the lining actually is pretty. Oh, I see. It's EVA backed is what it is. So it's a little bit heavier non-woven, and they have a little EVA backing. So this shoe is all man-made materials. There's no leather in it. This one, the real one, is action leather, which, hey, for a shoe this price, whatever this was, $115, that's what you get these days. So wow, okay, that's it. It looks like a lot of debris here, but so what have we learned? We've learned that the pattern of the fake one is awful. It's different. It's horrible. It's made in a completely different way. The midsole material and the outsole materials, actually, you know what? I brought these so that we could, do some foam and rubber testing, but seeing as how there's not much foam in these shoes, what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a little density check of this TPR, and we're just gonna, and this is a little probe to see how hard this material is, and we're just gonna find a thick part, and it looks like 86, and the rubber here is more like 46, right? So this is, nice. So it was 65. Okay. So I must have had the tape. So, this is conventional, the density of a rubber outsole. There's a little give in the egg crate pattern. That's what you'd expect, I guess, from this type of shoe. But also, I guess, you wish there would be a little bit more in these. But hey, man, that's what this kind of shoe is these days. We'll put that back together here so you can see what's going on, versus this thing. So I mean, there isn't much in the real shoe, and there's a lot less in the fake. So again, what's the harm, right? Well, the harm is this thing is going to kill your feet, and you're going to go about 2 miles before you feel this egg crate injection, and you can just see, you know, because this is string lasted, there's really no tension on the pattern. So what materials they do have here are not making you a very good shape. Well, once again, folks, you know, don't buy fakes. And then again, yeah, just because there are some guys making some fake shoes in Mexico does not mean that the majority of shoemakers in Mexico are fine people doing a nice job. They generally are. So again, don't let that turn you off. But hey, folks, I say it again. Don't buy fake shoes. And if you want to see more of this, please check out our 2 books. You know, Shoe Material Design Guide and How to Spot Fake Sneakers. They're both available at shoemakersacademy.com and available at Amazon. Hey, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Thank you.